morning, everybody. This morning, I'm sharing a few words from the book Upstream by Mary Oliver. The last thing I offer, the last saying I offer, will be from Whoopi Goldberg. This is entitled Winter Hours. In the winter, there is much darkness, darkness of nature, darkness of event, darkness of the spirit, the sprawling darkness of not knowing. We speak of the light of reason. And I speak here of the darkness of the world in the light of, but I don't know what to call it. Maybe hope, maybe faith, but not a shaped faith. Only say a gesture or a continuum of gestures. But probably it is closer to hope because that is more active and far messier than faith must be. Faith, as I imagine it, is tensile and cool, and it has no need of words. Hope, I know, is a fighter and a screamer. We're here for a reason, and I believe a bit of that reason is to throw light torches out, throw them out around us to lead people through the dark. God bless.
You know, I seem to start out my talks with the music that I hear, and I do try to sing. So certain words from certain songs just kind of call to me. And this song today, there's a sentence that came out for me, and I wanted to share it with you because it hits my heart, and it is, I am yours, you are mine, and we are one. So thank you very much. No, just kidding. So it's my privilege to be here. And I mean that sincerely. And thank you for the invitation, Reverend Sharon. And I have different places where Spirit is moving me for this talk this morning. I do feel compelled. This just came out to me just a few moments ago. But I want to share this concept. Many of you know that amongst other things of what I do is I am a sleep coach. And I really want to just say one thing about that, kind of. And the thing I want to share is, and I mean this sincerely, darkness gets a bad rap. We always seem to associate bad things with darkness, scary things with darkness. I can't see in the dark, there are monsters, all those kind of things. And I really, really would like to sincerely offer the possibility, even, that in the darkness, there can be a heck of a lot of healing and recovery and well being. And that's the whole purpose of every night in the darkness, is for us to recover from the day we just experienced and the energy that was expelled, and for us to re-energize, to heal our bodies, to heal our spirits, and to ignite our lights once again, so that in the morning, with the light and enjoying the light, we can be ourselves and we can spread, hopefully, benevolence and support to those around us and to ourselves. But it wouldn't be that way without the darkness. I want to share something that I do in my life. I do this just about every morning, in the darkness, actually, because I have an eye mask on. But what I do to start my days every day is that I plug in to a recording. Now, this is a special kind of recording. It's a meditation, but it's also a special kind of meditation. It's a binaural beat meditation. So my brain, the two different spheres, are getting two different beats. And the whole idea of this type of meditation is that it helps ultimately to connect your two brain halves to start to work together in harmony. And I'm in this program, and it's a very long program. This is each level that I listen to takes about 1 year. And I'm recently started year 6, level 6, and I have 6 more years to go. But when I plug in what I'm hearing, because the beats are disguised, they're in the background. So what I am privy to hearing is a beautiful, soothing waterfall, along with these very soft, melodic type of chimes. And that is a beautiful way, I will just share, to start a day. And it takes about an hour. And then I unplug, and now I'm ready to face the world. Um, I'm sharing that story with you about how I start my day because um, clearly there's a lot of wonderful, wonderful things that this world is about and that goes on a daily basis, whether in our personal worlds, in our communities, certainly here, our extended communities. But you know, there's also things that occur that can offset that beauty, that can add more static than benevolence to our well-being. And honestly, in our day and age, it's different now for us. It's actually, in my opinion, it's more challenging for us to maintain our status quo, our homeostasis of well-being, because we are bombarded from the second we wake up. We are bombarded by social media and information in any and every type of form possible. Boom, the second we wake up. Boom, remote control. Let's make it as easy as possible. Let's turn on the news. Last thing, sleep coach. I know this. Last thing that many people do before they go to sleep, boom, okay, let me listen to the news. And so there's an infiltration that, quite frankly, has no business being there. Us being bombarded as unique, beautiful individuals, as souls, and with our light. Now, this was not always the case. I'm not going to say anything new here. It used to be, once upon a time, before radio, before TV, before all that kind of stuff, that people knew exactly what was going, they knew always what was happening in their lives. They knew what was going on in their local communities. They knew what was going on in their families. They had that information, but they were not, boom, like, you know, you're ducking. They were not being overwhelmed and bombarded on a daily basis throughout the day by a lot of stuff. So in a way, one could argue, well, that's not good. We should keep up with every single thing that's going on, every single moment that it's going on. We should know, because somehow or another, if we don't, we're out of touch, we're out of sync, we're out of it. We have this in our brains. We have a neurochemical. It's called dopamine. And this is not a science talk, but just super quickly, the purpose of dopamine is to give us oomph. It is a neurochemical that inspires us to have, it inspires us, it has us to be, to move, to do things, to search for things, and to find things. And when we search for things, being driven by this, who knows that we have it, dopamine, when we find the thing we're searching for, then we get the rush. It's a hit, and it is a good feeling. And that's pretty much in a nutshell what our reward center is in our brain. It's, you know, search, I found it, I feel good. Let me do this all over again. That's exactly what happens to us when we are constantly in the middle of needing to know every single thing about what's going on in the world today. It is something that takes can take over us. It's something that we just assume should be part of who we are, what we do, what we think about, how we feel constantly. And the truth is that maybe it shouldn't be. The truth is that maybe things were not only easier in a way for us way back when, before we were engulfed in information, but we were better off that way. We were better off knowing about our local communities and allowing people in other parts of the world and other parts of the country having their local communities and living our lives to their fullest and not with limitation, as some people might label that type of lifestyle. Because when we are constantly in this lifestyle, which we're, I think, all encouraged to do, we're encouraged to be in that lifestyle, we're encouraged to be in a very fast lifestyle, it feels for me like we can kind of get our footing like swept away, and just kind of going with the flow. But that flow is not necessarily a good thing. In fact, it could be kind of toxic. It can be kind of toxic to be repetitively bombarded and hit over the head with information that maybe you don't want to hear, maybe you don't like, maybe makes you bleed inside. And yet, so what do we do about that? Because we are in 2025. This is our world. This is how it is. Everyone not only has a TV in every single room, but they're about the size of former movie theater size screens. They're gigantic, which I don't approve of as a sleep coach. But what do we do? Well, I want to propose that if we are plugged in, and by the way, that being plugged into this stuff, this information stuff constantly without even taking note of it because it becomes second nature, to start become a little bit more mindful of it, to start to really hone in on how you're feeling inside. I can almost guarantee, I don't want to be a pessimist here, just a realist. I can almost guarantee if we are chronically and consistently plugged into things that are toxic, that that will kind of dim our lights inside of us just a bit. Certainly not going to enhance it. Certainly not going to feel the beauty inside of us of who we are as souls and why we're here, what our soul mission is. That is not going to enhance it. The trouble is that dopamine, which is still involved here, it can become very addictive. It could become this reward center, and there's a purpose for that, this addiction, because way back when people had to survive out in the wilderness, our Paleolithic, God bless them, ancestors out there, they needed that hit of dopamine to keep going back out there and doing the hunt and doing the foraging. They needed that to survive. We don't need that support, that action from dopamine for our survival by taking in an overwhelming amount of information. And please note that there's an addictive quality to that for us, that we have a need, a compulsion, like, gotta do this. Oh, gee whiz, I'm at a source. I haven't heard the news for a couple of days. That's, again, not necessarily a bad thing. What I'm going to encourage people to do is to think about unplugging. Try an experiment. Unplug. What's that like? What's that like to not be involved in every single piece of information that comes out constantly? And eventually learning and experimenting again with plugging into something else that has to do with who you are in a very, very loving, kind, warm hearted, and beautiful way. To support yourselves, to support yourselves with love, to support yourselves with energy that's here for us, that makes us thrive, that makes us better, that makes us be able to reach out to one another in community, that we can kind of lose track of in this hustle bustle of wild, wild torpedoes, I mean, all over the place of information that is not in our best interest. So you can I plug into a binaural meditation beats, right? I plug into that. That's how I start my day. I'm plugging into a reveal, a new part of what I do in my life. I now identify myself as an embryonic playwright. I've been wanting to write a play for decades. I am now telling people I'm pregnant with a play. And I'm writing it. I signed up for a class. I'm writing it. I just completed the first act. I expect my due date is probably in about 2 months that I will give birth to this play. That is a plug into something that has meaning for me, that fills me with energy and love and joy. I'm just having a blast doing this thing. And that's what I encourage you folks to think about, at least to balance out your worlds and your lives with not just static and toxicity, but with things that bring meaning to you and bring you joy and bring you life. I'll just say a final word about this. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, okay? It doesn't have to be constant static or constant joy. We don't need Disney World, but we don't need that toxicity. So I'm picturing a seesaw right now. Get it balanced. Be aware, if you want, of what's happening in our world, your world. I'm about to cough. Be aware of that. I have something, thanks. But don't let that lead you around by the nose. Be aware of dopamine. Stop yourselves and make sure, unplug, and get yourself someplace else. So thank you very much.